am playing a game where I would win on my own merits. I'll build my skill. It may take longer, it may be more difficult, I may be initially getting lesser, but I will do it on my own merit.
Shah Rukh Khan was nominated for his third Filmfare Award. The speech he said, it stayed with me. He said that I knew that I could not dance like Govinda, I could not act like Amit, I could not look like Salman, I could not fight like Ajay. All I could do was I could work the hell out of myself and I could work harder than them. That reminded me of the importance of hustle.
I tried changing the whole world. The only thing that I could have changed and I could have improved and left better was myself.
You are very bothered about what everyone else is thinking about you. And at 60, you realize that nobody has been thinking about you at all. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to a brand new episode of a brand new season of Towards a Better World on Thinkly, my community where I invite and speak to some of the most inspirational people from all over the world and from all walks of life. The theme of this season is making work meaningful again, because I strongly believe that you cannot correct all that's wrong in this world by simply ranting about them, but you can probably do it by bringing forth all that's right in the world. Over the past year, a little over a year actually, it's been my endeavor to showcase some role model leaders across organizations and across functions. If you work for a large organization, you probably know that they are opaque and they are faceless. You know, when, for example, when my bank sends me a birthday wish bearing the digital signature of some VP, I know obviously she doesn't mean it because she doesn't even know me. When you're put on hold for 20 minutes, when you call a customer service number and the IVRS keeps informing you that your call is important for them, it sounds like a stupid joke, doesn't it? But then, every large organization was once a small organization. Not just a smaller version, but also a different animal altogether. Fewer heads, clearer goals, quicker decisions, and a lot of warmth. As it got bigger, it added scale and muscle, predictability and automation, layers and protocols, contingencies and efficiencies. But at the core, it's still made of people like you, like me. And we are all different from one another, aren't we? For example, I'm a Messi fan. You prefer probably Mexican food. Sandra is Indian, probably. Bob supports a certain political belief. Marina thinks that a certain movie star is overrated, and so on. Each of us is a final product of genes, biology, choices, experiences, values, and aspirations. It's impossible for you to understand me totally, and vice versa. I can't understand you totally. But then at work, we are huddled in groups to meet common objectives. With our diversity, all our diversity raised to the power n. So it's a daunting task to bring out the best of human potential in a workforce that comprises of a multi-generational work, which is a multi-generational workforce, and who are jostling for space with machines and AI. Today's episode may give you some hope that machines may not actually take away all our opportunities. There'll always be more than enough for all of us. We just need to make sure that every human being has a fair access to them. Because in a true meritocracy, the best men and the best women rise to the top and they take everyone along. You and I can make a noise or we can make a statement. It's a choice, but a very important one. So, to kickstart this season, I thought it would be great to invite someone who stands behind these functions and these leaders, who handholds, who coaches, and who leads these leaders into their next orbits of their leadership journey so that meritocracy is upheld at the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, I just could not find a better leader for this podcast episode than Sabih Kidwai, a leader who's loved as much as he's respected, not just for his domain strengths minded, but also for his authenticity, for his empathy, and for his multifaceted personality. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, without further ado, let me welcome Sabih to Towards a Better World. Welcome, Sabih.
Thank you, Ayon, and I'm a little nervous with the kind of introduction that you've made for me, but I'm very happy to be here, and I'm all looking forward for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Savit. Thank you for making time for this because you are someone I've been wanting to have on this podcast for a long time, and thankfully we got your time today. So let's jump into it. While you and I know each other for quite some time now, but I'd request you, like I request all leaders whom I invite on this podcast, is to share a view of your page one with our audience. Because please tell us how someone like you. Why did you choose? How and why did you choose human resources or talent management and organizational development as a career path for yourself, because you are an MSc in science, I believe, right?
Yes, not MSc, just missed it a little. So I took admission in MSc, but let me tell you the
Okay.
whole story. Let me tell you the
Okay.
whole story.
Sure.
Well,
Look forward.
I've been a mediocre student all my life, but always interested in multiple things. So I would debate, I would quiz, I would play. I'll also study a bit uh, once a while. And that's how life was going on. I did my honors in physics because I was very interested in physics and I was intrigued with that science, and wanted to pursue my MSc and PhD in physics. I actually took, after my graduation, took admission in my master's in material physics. So MSc in material physics, that's what I wanted to pursue and maybe do some research, because I come from a family background where everyone is a scientist or a professor or a and corporate, I'm maybe first generation. So while that was happening on one side, I also happened to had a secret uh, love for armed forces. And towards the end of my undergraduate program, I appeared for the armed forces officers training in the assessment, and qualified that. And and I qualified. Normally, people prepare for it, and for me, it just happened. I thought, let me attempt this. I went and attempted the test. I qualified. They called me for the assessment, which is considered to be one of the best. It is called SSB, the Staff Selection Board, where
Yes.
so I went through that and qualified that too. Now that brought in some inclination and understanding towards leadership and management, and they also gratify you and talk about it. Oh, you've got all the leadership qualities, and you can lead and you can manage, etc., etc. And that's where this idea of, okay, maybe not science and maybe management could be an area to pursue. Uh, and I do believe in serendipity. So in some ways, uh, that came in play. A friend of mine, I was completing my program. A friend of mine, uh, I don't know what was he seeing in me, but he decided to buy the form for the human resources master's program in the university. He brought that form, brought it to me, gave it to me in my hand, and I said, okay, fine. He said, you must fill this up. It will be good for you. I kept that form in his scooter and left it there. 2 days back later, he saw it again and he brought it. He said, you've not filled it and you must fill it now and come with me and we'll deposit it. So that's how I ended up uh, appearing for that exam and qualifying, and then getting into HR. So to me, all of us are in our own journey in our lives, and in this journey, life takes us to different experiences, different places where we discover the world in our own unique ways, but not just the world. We also discover ourselves in new ways, and we realize that, okay, fine, this is also something that I like or I could have done. So that's how I've landed here, and it's been decades since then, and I've fallen in love with the profession, with the work that we do, and the kind of impact that we bring to the organizations, to the individual. So that's what, never look back. That's how.
So this
So
SSP that which you mentioned, the short service thing, what that was the 5 year thing, right? Which used to come in those days.
right,
I mean, in the 90s. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, you were saying something. I
staff
interrupted
selection.
you.
No, I was saying that, so it was not me choosing HR, it was HR choosing me.
Wow. Wonderful. No, that's so wonderfully put. I think, not you choosing HR, but HR choosing you. And I particularly, love this whole serendipity thing and in the way you describe your journey over the past 30 years, because both in you and me, we have started in the 90s, right? So it was a different world then, and it's a different world today. So now, having I was just telling you off screen, Sabi, So what intrigued me, and this is a small anecdote I wanted to share with the viewers, was that first time I got to know Sabi was I was looking for a new role, and I was just bored with my previous thing, looking for a new role, and somebody had connected with me to him, and he was transitioning from being the head of HR at Schneider Electric India to a learning and development head of Schneider Electric, and he actually took time to connect me with his successor and the CEO. And I was so surprised that this guy is just moving to a new role. Why is he even bothered? So that, kind of intrigued me and, hooked me that this is a man who is. I have followed your career, Sabi, and I know that as a person, I have always admired your value centric approach to work, and this is especially relevant for this theme of this podcast because I strongly believe that in this hyper competitive world of today, where most professionals who view work as a zero sum game, right? It's a win at any cost kind of an endeavor, but it's it's great to see leaders like you who put values first without any insecurity of being left behind in some race or the other, like most professionals are insecure about. And this is a two-part question, Sabi. So the second part is, was this always your default personality, or did some event in your life kind of nudge you towards a value-centric approach to leadership? Sorry, long question.
Yeah. So, okay, let me give you an equally long answer to the long
Sure,
question
sure,
that
please.
you put to me. Of course, the value system to an extent is influenced by, as I said, family of scholars, writers, professors, teachers. Uh, there is a strong value system that has always been there, that has guided us as individuals, as youngsters, which of course was making influence on the personality. But I must say that it didn't happen overnight. It's not. It's over a period that these experiences, these observations brought in these values and embedded them in my ways of thinking and in my ways of being to a great extent. And so there's a huge list of those experiences, but one very interesting one that comes to my mind, and since we were talking about it recently, I thought that'll be relevant here.
Yeah.
Those days, and you've already revealed our ages, so I can then again talk more on that.
We are barely 23.
I know.
Yeah, you can
So,
make it.
those days, we didn't have 24/7 televisions, and when the cricket matches were played in other countries, you don't see live matches. You would see the highlights at the end of the day, or you would see it in the news clips. So one day I was looking at that, and there was a clip that I watched, which has left an indelible mark on my personality and my way of being. And the story is this, that I saw, and I don't even remember if I'm taking the names correctly, but I think it was Malcolm Marshall. Malcolm Marshall, who was considered to be the fastest bowler at that point of time. West Indies, that was one of the best teams, or the best team at that moment. They were playing against India. Syed Kirmani was batting, and he was not a great batsman. And then he was facing Malcolm Marshall. Malcolm Marshall bowled, and Syed Kirmani placed the ball slowly, and the ball went towards the bowler, and he started running because he wanted to give the striking end to someone who was better on the other side of it. So the ball actually went to Malcolm Marshall, and he picked the ball. Syed Kirmani, while running between the wickets, fell. His pad stuck, and he fell on the pitch. Now I saw Malcolm Marshall, instead of hitting the ball on the wicket, threw it in the air and then caught it and smiled and moved on. As a kid, I couldn't understand why did this happen. Why did he not hit it? It was his opportunity. Kirmani had fell. He could have very easily hit him out. And why did he not do it? And it took me a while after reflecting and thinking and maybe talking to people. And then I have immense examples from cricket itself that I can give you in similar examples. But then what struck me was that he wanted to win on merit. He wanted to win it like a sportsman, on his own capabilities, on his own skills, and not because someone had fallen down, someone faltered, someone made a mistake, and I got an opportunity. I just take that. That is what has stayed with me. And there are immense examples in sports and in life that I've seen of that kind of behavior, which has made my personality. I don't want to win by chance. I don't want to win uh, by sabotaging someone else's work, by taking advantage of someone making mistakes, someone falling short. That's not what the game I am playing. I am playing a game where I would win on my own merits. I'll build my skill. It may take longer, it may be more difficult, I may be initially getting lesser, but I will do it on my own merit. I'll do it on my values, so that I could look at myself with pride and with confidence that I've done it, and I've not got it from anyone else, because of anyone else, anything. So that's how this personality. I mean, these things got embedded in my personality, and that's what the value system I've been following, and maybe I've been reflecting.
Oh, so beautifully put, Sabi. I mean, wonderful. And I think it's wonderful that you used a cricket analogy and how some random scene on TV can shape a professional journey, you know. So, you know, I will give you my short anecdote to this, you know. And again, you know, because we just spoke of the 90s. So this was 1996, March. It was Filmfare Awards. And Shah Rukh Khan was nominated for his third Filmfare Award within 2 years of debuting, and for Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. And the others were Ajay Devgan, Govinda, Amir Khan, and Salman Khan, if I'm not wrong. And so I remember the speech when he came in. People were sniggering that he was talking too much, and he was not giving a world. He was not giving a gold class on modesty, of course. I mean, he was quite a haughty guy at that time. But the speech he said, it stayed with me. He said that. Uh, when I came here, I knew that I could not dance like Govinda. I could not act like Amir. I could not look like Salman. I could not fight like Ajay. But all I could do was I could work the hell out of myself. And I could work harder than them. And I could, and ही सेड कि जब मैं आया था तो लोग कहते थे ऐसा एक्टर ये टीवी एक्टर है बॉक्स ऑफिस पे नहीं चलेगा तो मैंने कहा बॉक्स ऑफिस पे नहीं चलेगा तो बॉक्स ऑफिस पे जलेगा तो जरूर तो मैंने बॉक्स ऑफिस को जला दिया so that reminded me of the importance of hustle and winning it with whatever you have. You might not have all the best things in the world, but you still have what you have, and you can use that to your advantage and win in this world. So great answer, Sabi. I love the way you put value systems with a cricket analogy. Now moving to your core competency, Sabi, you are someone who's very passionate about developing human potential and creating leaders. Now, and we've discussed this probably in the past, that we have a multi-generational workforce today. It's kind of five generations, maybe, starting with the boomers are still around. Then you have the Gen X's, you have millennials, then you have even Gen Z's now coming in, and all that happening today. So what are the challenges of a talent management and organizational development leader like you that you face when it comes to address the diverse aspirational needs of different generations? And now, again, this is again a two-part question. The second part is addressing the elephant in the room, which most people talk in whispers around the coffee machine, but no one actually speaks it out loudly, which is about ageism. Because ageism, I have my views on it, but I would like to hear it from you. Uh, Please give your views if ageism at the workplace is real, and if so, what are its direct implications on talent management? And also, if you could share your personal views, how organizations can avert falling for this blind spot.
Yeah, well, again, sometimes we overplay things, and not sometimes, a lot of times, we as an industry, we as a community of professionals tend to overdo things, and we've done it. There were generations at work always, this is not a new phenomenon. I mean, this has always been there. There have been people who've been working of all ages, and they've been working together in the same organization for long, for long. I think we there is disproportionate attention and conversation around it, and actually we swung on one side earlier, and then we swung to the other side, and now we're trying to come back and strike a balance. So at one point of time we said, okay, experience is everything, and you would grow, you would succeed, you would get recognized, and everything would happen only if you bring in that experience. And that was one extreme of it. And then there was this extreme, uh, I was reading somewhere, and again I'm forgetting the phrase, but the curse of 35 or something like that, that I was reading from China, where they're saying that people above 35 are feeling insecure and concerned uh, of their careers, because there's so much focus that the whole nation is giving to this, and which is the case with a lot of corporates, a lot of organizations also. I think we're overdoing it. We are overdoing it, and uh, while it is important to be conscious of it and to think more holistically, but in the process, uh, let's not marginalize one for the other. And I think that's what gets to happen many a times in organizations. uh, I believe that it is not about age. So to be upfront to and to bring closure to the point that you made, is it real or not? I think it is real, and the more we talk about it, we are more real we are making it. So we're making it more real on the ground. But I personally believe that instead of the age, what we should look at, there's this model of S curve of learning, and I've written about it and talked about it in some other forums also. This was by Whitney Johnson. So the model says that each individual is at a S-like curve in their learning journey, in their careers. And when they are at the bottom of that S curve, that's where they're learning. They're starting to learn new thing, and that's the time when you really challenge them, when you really give them, coach them, handhold them to really think uh, as a specialist, or go and stretch themselves in that space. And I'm talking of that space where they, whatever their area of expertise is, or whatever the area or the work that they want to do. And then there is a phase when they are on that steep curve where they are excelling, there in the flow, they know the game, they're playing it at their best. And there what we need to do is just make sure that we are helping them sharpen and deliver. So that's the opportunity for us to, and the organizations, to leverage their potential, their capabilities, their skill. And then as and when the individual starts plateauing, that's where you get them to do something new, something different, learn something new, and this. Now, irrespective of what age you are in, you could be anywhere in this curve. And all of us are at different stages of our career. At within the career, on that unique skill set or that unique capability, we may be at a different level, and that's what we need to focus as an organization. That's what we need to focus as professionals, for ourselves, for our people, to first identify where am I, or where is the team member who I'm talking about, and then how do I really appropriately engage and handle them to really get them to give their best and be most satisfied and most contributing to the larger cause for the organization and for their own career and their own growth. I hope I've been able to give some context, and this is helpful, but happy to clarify anything.
No, no, very well said. I think, Sabih, and I'll probably give one example to this. But before I give my example to, which is my response to your answer, uh, I was a little curious because you mentioned a very important point, and I think I am also very conscious about this, and I have also written about it quite a bit. Is that the first two parts of your of the career journey of a professional that you described was the early years where people need the right chances, right opportunities, right breaks, etc. And the middle part where they're excelling, they're on a high, and you just need to put them on an accelerator kind of a pedal, and then they keep on delivering the best. It's like Virat Kohli on steroids when Kohli
Yeah.
is at his best, right? But I'm more interested about the plateau part of it, because sooner or later, every superstar hits a plateau, and especially this happens around 40, right? So where one is that they stop getting the new things to be passionate about, and secondly, the organization thinks that probably they don't have that runway in them anymore, so they put their money on young guns because they know that young people are more impressionable. They can take those stretch assignments without complaining. They are vulnerable to ego needs. With a flashy business card title can entice a young person, right? So, and probably a person at 45 might not be enticed as much. So you mentioned, and as an OD leader, how do you, what are the opportunities that you nudge these plateau people towards?
Well, and while you were speaking, there were multiple ideas that were crossing my
Sure, of
mind, and
course.
let me just speak as I was thinking. So I'm so happy that now uh, humility is being again talked about as a leadership skill, which was not the case for most of the time that we were growing as professionals and leaders. While it was not that anybody said that, oh, humility is immaterial and no one cares about it, but when leadership was being talked about, when leaders were being talked about, humility was not something that would take a prominent space. Of late, I'm seeing, thanks to the machines coming in and the threat that is coming from that side, that there is a lot of conversation about humility,
Sure.
humility for leaders, and and that as a skill for leaders, as a capability of leaders. I take it one step ahead, and I call it the intellectual humility.
Hmm.
This is the ability to be comfortable with dissent, the ability to be comfortable with difference of opinion, the ability to be open to new ideas, new perspectives, etc. Now, connecting it to the point that you were asking, when we are plateauing as professionals, when we've done it, and remember, when this plateauing happens after I have succeeded, because when I
Yes.
was in the flow, I was doing everything right, and I was playing all the right shots, and every time I flung my bat, the ball was coming right on the sweet spot, and it was so I gather a lot of baggage in the journey. And then when I reach that plateau, that's where it becomes difficult, because now I think I've done it. I've done it. I know it, and I've done it multiple times. And now I am and I was celebrated, and I mean, by others and by myself, as someone who was very successful, who knew it, who know the game. So I
Sure.
know the game now. And now suddenly you're saying that I am plateauing and I need to do something different, which I don't know,
True.
which I may not be skilled at, which I will have to learn. So that is where the concept and the idea of intellectual humility comes in. I feel the future is going to be a lot more blurred. So the boundaries of functions, of organizations, of humans and machines, all this are going to blur a lot. No one would know it all. No one could know it all.
Sure.
So it would require us to work with others. So the next phase of our journey on that, after that plateau, is collaborating, co-creating, working with others, finding new spaces with others. So HR and data science and empathy and machine learning and ethics and technology, all that. So overlaps of that would come in. Now, for that, you require this intellectual humility. Otherwise, there is this risk of what I call the hubris-driven decisions
Yes.
that leaders tend to or could fall trap to make. Because I know it all, I've done it all, I'm the expert. I've done it for
Absolutely.
20 years, 25 years, 30 years. So now it's my time to tell you that what you need to do. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's time for
Mhm.
me to learn something new, something very different, and get to a new S curve, a new learning curve for myself. So that's what is important uh,
People
for
look at.
leaders to realize, and and I include myself in it every day. So for me to realize, for me to practice it every day, to make sure that one, I am conscious of it and I am intellectually humble to accept it, and then I'm doing something about it, and I'm learning, and I'm finding people and places where I continue to learn.
So well said. And I think for the audience and guys who know, people who don't know Sabi personally, I mean, you could check him out, his profile. He's pretty active on social platforms. He's a public speaker, he's a coach, and he's in CII forums, etc. So he walks the talk. When he talks of humility, I know that he really maintains it. And now, I can't resist this story, Sabi, before I go to my next question, because your answer actually triggers this story. When you talk about somebody who has done it all, seen it all, and then they hit a plateau, right? So this is 15th of March 2012. I'm in Dhaka, and the hotel people have been gracious enough to, and there are three cricket teams in the hotel, same hotel: India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And I've met most of the guys at the gym or at the swimming pool, etc. So only person I couldn't meet was Sachin Tendulkar, and he was toward the fag end of his career, as you know, right? So I had requested the hotel people that if I could see him, and they said that Dhoni and Tendulkar are two people who are very reclusive. You can't see them so often. But they said if he's coming down for breakfast, we'll put you around him. So they were very nice. They put me on the same table as Sachin Tendulkar on that morning. And you won't believe, Sabi, there were these youngsters. Those time they were youngsters at that time. They were like Pathan, both brothers, Gautam Gambhir, and others. They were all, in it was a normal day, so they were in slippers and Bermuda shorts, having breakfast, etc. And the god of cricket, he walks in full gear, and he has somebody else carrying his kit, etc. And he comes and sits there in front, and then he has this zen-like aura about himself while he's eating. And he's 99 centuries old, right? And he has 1 century to go. So I can't resist it. After some time, I strike a conversation. I said that, how's the pressure? Like, people are all so, he just took some time to come out of his trance. He was in a trance-like state where he was so focused. And he was so humble. And the way he spoke with me for the next few minutes, I was floored. I mean, that is like really he is the god of cricket. I could understand. And he said about the pressure thing, he said that, I have all I can do, what is in my hands is I can go and give my best shot. And after that, if it works, it works. It doesn't work, it doesn't work. How can I do? So, and incidentally, the next day he hit his 100th century. So that's a story I always say. And the second small story was with the other legend of our times, which was Ganguly. And I had an option to be in the same stage as him. So I told him that, of all your famous knocks at NatWest, at Lords, etc., my best knock was at Pune when you were kicked out of the team and you were playing a Ranji match against Maharashtra. And he had scored 150. I said you scored 150 something and you took 5 wickets. So he actually smiled shyly and he said, no, it was 175. And he said, that I was clawing back my way into the Indian team. And when he came back, he said, I said, what triggered it? Was it like a hunger for captaincy or what was it? He said, no, I just had cricket left in me. He said, I wanted to give it back, and he came back as the highest scorer in test and one day both. So these were two examples. kind of connect with beautiful narration you gave of people at a plateau. They were both intellectually humble. They understood that they have reached a certain space and they need to reinvent themselves if they have to go to the next phase. So fantastic answer, Sabi. Sorry, my anecdote was probably long, but this brings me to a supplementary question to your last one, because it's kind of you are someone who deals with a lot of talent at various levels at organizations, right? So it's not just starting level talent or mid management, but you also deal with a lot of senior management talent, like people who are probably breaking into from general management to VP level, VP to CEO probably. And so my question is that these people, when they reach that orbit in leadership, they already have some pre-checked boxes, right, in their resume, because unless they have that, they can't break into that orbit. So, so when you deal with this senior management talent, what are some of the challenges that you encounter when it comes to nudging? Because these people, although they have so many merits and so many skills that they carry with them, but they also have some latent I won't call it defects, probably latent development areas which they have in them. So, how do you nudge a senior management talent to make them conscious of their development areas and correct them without mm, dealing it sensitively, without hurting their egos? Because when you reach to a certain level, you also develop a very well-deserved ego, of course, right? So, so how do you do that, Sabi?
Well, I must start with the confession that I don't know the exact trick, but as I said, each individual, each one of us is on our own unique journey. So every time there's a new way, there's a new approach that is required, and that's where, as a professional, as someone who's responsible for this, we have to be agile enough and conscious enough of ourselves and our own limitations. And I'll touch on that too a little. But before that, about them. So about them, most of the time, the challenge is not the the incompetence or lack of something. It is the overuse of their unique skills that comes in the way of their success. So they've done something, they know it works. And again, as I said, when they were at the flow, that worked perfectly well, 100% of the time. That's what got them where they are. And that's where they have got this belief that these are the things that work and this is what I must do because that's what got me here. So they tend to overuse their strengths most of the time. That's the challenge. And it requires, as I said, a unique way to address each of those unique situations and unique challenges that we have with those leaders and with ourselves. And one interesting thing that I really wanted to highlight here is our own selves as coaches. The biggest challenge to our effectiveness as a coach is our own minds, our own limitations. Because if I go and approach the individual or a challenge with the mindset that I'm here to correct, so I know the right thing and I am here to tell Ayon, what do you need to do right, because you're doing it wrong and everyone can see it except you. And I can see it and I have a solution for you. That belief is the biggest challenge of my effectiveness, because I must spend time to understand your context, your mindset, your approach, your challenge, everything. And then with you and through you, get this sorted. As a coach, I think that's the most difficult part of it, because particularly again with those of us who on our own journey, so that leader has got his own challenges, etc. But we've also been through the same curve. We've also been through that flow. So I think that I know the answer. Oh, you should not do this. You must do this. You should stop doing this. So in my endeavor to really help the individual, I tend to give my own baggage to the individual or to the other. That won't work. That will never work. So what I need to do is I need to help myself understand that individual, and then help him or her on their own discover where is the challenge and how do they come out of it. They know it, they have it in them all the time, always, and they are the best. Because these people, particularly those who've been successful and who've led the organizations and who've done things over years, they're good at it, they know it, and they they have in them, like the examples that you gave of Tendulkar or Ganguly. No one else could tell them. They were the best players of their times. No one else can tell them what do they need to do. All the commentators, everyone else watching them on screen, but अरे ऐसे नहीं खेलना चाहिए था, पहले उठा के मारना चाहिए था, नहीं स्लो करना चाहिए था, प्लेस करना चाहिए था, प्रेशर में मत आओ लास्ट। भाई उसने 99 century, he's completed 99 centuries, he's playing for his 100. I can't tell him that you should not be under pressure and you should play like this or not. So they know their game best. My role is to really help them unleash themselves, and only I will only be able to do it if I can control myself and my mind from holding myself back from giving the solution. I don't have the solution, I can never have the solution, they have the solution. I have to help them figure that out and go and do it for themselves. That's what a coach is. That's what someone who could really, that's the kind of person that can help them. Otherwise, we will end up in ego clashes, in superficial transactional conversations. If they're respectful, oh yeah, right, thank you very much, this is a nice advice, and I'll go happy thinking that, oh, I was able to tell such and such, so senior, so capable, so competent, so successful, I could tell him what or her what is the flaw and what is it that they need to do which would help them grow. But that'll be delusion. I mean, that's not the way it would ever work. We will have to control ourselves and our own minds first before we could really help them. And our role as leaders, our roles as coaches is exactly this. So हमें अपने ऊपर ज्यादा काम करना है, फिर उनके ऊपर होगा. Then we will be able to help them.
Lovely answer. And my biggest takeaway from your answer, Sabih, was that, and I actually never thought of it this way. And it's an eye opener for me that elite performers tend to overdo their things that they do well. And I think that can become a latent defect when they are playing, and that's a great insight. I have never thought of it this way. And it reminds me of Marshall Goldsmith's book, "What Got You Here Can't Get You There." So right, you had certain strengths which brought you here, but from here to there, if the next level, those same strengths could actually prove to be a hindrance in your journey. You have to reinvent yourself and think of a different way to how you move ahead. So fantastic answer, Savi. I think many of our and that's the difference between a coach, stroke mentor, and a boss. A boss will probably tell you what to do. A coach will probably nudge you towards what you can do with yourself. Like Sabi said, you have it in you, figure it out yourself. I can probably just slowly nudge you towards your strengths. Fantastic. Awesome. Sabi, now, I want to get to the audience question as a last round, but before moving to the last round, I can't resist. This is a question I can't resist asking you. As you may have heard the famous Warren Bennis quote, and for the audience, this is I love this quote that Warren Bennis had said that the factory of the future will have only two employees, a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to stop the man from touching the machines. I know this sounds scary and very dystopian, but the fact is that the future that he describes is no longer far away in some distant land, but it is right here and right now. So, in this age of disruptions and accelerating AI, leaders, like I was telling you before we started this today, Sabi, are getting they're increasingly losing their human touch. So many leaders that I observe and I write about are almost zombie-like robots in suits, So for me, someone like you comes across as a refreshing change when I see your identity capital beyond your business card or beyond your day job. So there are very few leaders I know who can juggle sport and poetry as effortlessly as you do with their day jobs. So is this something that you have cultivated in yourself, or is this an inherent personality trait? And I love that, because I also believe in similar lifestyle, because I feel that your work and life are not umbrellas which you leave outside when you enter each other. So tell us how this style of your this lifestyle, where you have so many different facets to your personality, impacts your day job. Sorry.
I think it leaves it enriched. I've always been curious. I like variety. I would do different things since childhood. I enjoyed variety. I always enjoy the company of people who are passionate about anything, and it could be really anything. Sometimes I spend time with people uh, uh, who are very passionate, and they sing classical. I understand nothing of it, but what I enjoy is the company. I mean, the passion with which they are engrossed in what they're doing. That's what I enjoy, and I think that leaves me enriched. uh, what I enjoy the most is when I read books, when I read poetry, when I read religion, when I talk to people, I see very, and I am able to connect those dots from a very distinctly different spaces. So when something that is written in some scripture connects with something that is written by a poet in Middle East centuries back, a Persian poet says something which is something that is written in Vedas, and then sometime a leadership message that I see somewhere, and I see that message being applied when people in sports. Uh,
Yes.
that is what I enjoy the most, and that's why I enjoy poetry, because in poetry, what happens is that the poet is able to really bring a vast idea or a concept into just a couple of lines. So what I love is I love Urdu poetry, and Urdu poetry I like uh, शेर जो इसमें सिर्फ दो लाइनें होती हैं. So in two lines, what they put together is a huge idea and concept, and I enjoy it for days. जब मुझे एक शेर याद आता है तो मैं वो शेर कई दिन तक बार बार रिपीट करता हूँ. That's how I remember that, and that's how I am able to quote it in different contexts and different situations, because वो मैं एक शेर को बार बार I keep repeating it in my mind and enjoying it. करे वाह यार क्या बात बोल दी, दो दो लाइनों में क्या बात कह दी इसने. So
Oh,
that's what I enjoy.
एक शेर सुनाइए पहले, उसके
अच्छा
बाद
मैंने
हम आगे बढ़ते हैं.
शेर सुनाता हूँ. मैं सच को सच भी कहूंगा, तुम्हें खबर ही न थी. मैं सच को सच भी कहूंगा, तुम्हें खबर ही न थी. मुझे भी इल्म न था अपनी इस बुराई का.
क्या बात, क्या
so,
बात. अच्छा.
so yeah, so I mean that's the idea, that I mean I will be able to speak the truth. I will be able to say what I believe. You never thought that. Even I was not aware that I can do it.
So beautiful.
So
So,
it's a
so,
made it.
so beautiful. So beautiful. Who is your favorite Shire?
Oh, as I said, I like variety. So, uh, I mean, I read all poets, and I try and read. I mean, Urdu, of course, because I understand it better and I enjoy it more.
You read Urdu?
I do read. I do read Urdu.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't write it very fluently. I can write, but slowly. But I read Urdu comfortably. So yeah. So that.
Such a rich language, and so much. I am unfortunately I can't read it, but whatever I read, the translated versions, it is like a treasure trove for people who love poetry and people who love to read.
Yeah. So true. So that's what I enjoy, and that's the.
And yeah, and for the audience, Sabih is not just about poetry. Sabih is also a runner. He is a cyclist, and he does a lot more things, apart from his day job. So it's really so refreshing to see someone like you, Sabih, and like we've always spoken about. So before I move to the audience questions, I think we are going through some turbulent times in the world, and people are people are at loggerheads with each other for, they just pick up a cause to fight, and right. So it could be geographies, it could be religion, it could be this or that, etc. So I would like, before I look, because Sabi has just quoted a poem, so I would like to quote a few lines from one of my favorite poems,
Hmm.
to set the flow, because that's what I am sure Sabi also believes in. So this is a poem I had read in probably class sixth or seventh, I think, maybe. It was a poem by Rus Khan. I don't know, you might have read Rus Khan at that time. So it goes something like this. शेष गणेश महेश दिनेश सुरेशु जाहि निरंतर गावे जाहि अनादि अनंत अखंड अछेद अभेद सुवेद बतावे नारद से सुख व्यास रटे पचिहारी तहु पुनि पार न पावे ताहे अहीर की छौहरिया कछिया बरी छाछ पे नाच नचावे. So this
Hmm.
basically describes Lord Krishna. They say that all the intellectuals and all the all the big priests of the world could not figure him out, and this was the man whom a few gopis in could make him dance by showing him some chach. So God is very simple. Man minus mind is equal to God. So the moment you let go of your mind, you become God.
Wow.
So I think, with this, Abhi, I want to read out the questions and the comments that have come in. So there are quite a few. So Mira is asking you. So, what's one leadership lesson that has stuck with you over the years?
Work on yourself. Work on yourself. I and sorry, but I really wanted to. It's coming to my mind a very interesting story uh, that I read. It's not a story, but this was a preface of a book by a very eminent Sufi saint,
Mhm.
and this is what he wrote. So he wrote that at a very early age, I realized that I was gifted. I could understand the mysteries of the world, and I must give it back. So at the age of 20, I decided that I must leave the world as a better place, and I must make sure that I carry this mission to the whole world and let the whole world understand and know what I know. At around 40, 20 years of working on this, I realized that this is too big a mission. I may not be able to change the whole world, and I must rather focus on my people who are around me, my disciples, my students, my followers, and I should focus on them, because it'll be a pity that I tried for the whole world, and but my own people were left without the wisdom and knowledge that I have been able to gather, and I have the privilege of having. I and around 70, I realized that even that is not happening, and I must limit it to only those who are just around me. Make sure that they must uh, get the wisdom that I have, and I leave all the knowledge and wisdom to them before I leave Earth. I am now 80 and I am writing this book, and I must start with the regret that I carry to my grave. And that regret is that what a waste. I tried changing the whole world. I tried changing everyone else. The only thing that I could have changed and I could have improved and left better was myself. So I should have rather focused on myself. And this is the message that I leave for everyone who reads the rest of my book, that focus on yourself. This is the message that I have read long time back. And I think this is what is my mission. And this is what I think is most important. Focus on yourself. I was giving you
You,
that example as a coach, as a leader, as a talent manager, as a HR leader. How do I help the other leaders, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that you have to do is control yourself. Know yourself, work on yourself. I think that's what my message is. That's what is very important.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is actually written on the Oracle of Delphi. I mean, it's written there, that know thyself, right? And I very quickly, Mira, what Savi just said, I'll quote the Dr. Dean Amen rule, which is 18-40-60 rule, which he said that at 18 you are very bothered about what everyone else is thinking about you. At 40, you don't give a darn what anybody is thinking about you. And at 60, you realize that nobody has been thinking about you at all. So, with this, let me move to Anand Sharma's question. Anand is asking you, do you believe digital tools can genuinely take the place of human connection in HR?
Okay, and we were joking about this just before the call. What we were talking about was that if you can write the SOP of what you do as HR, as a leader, as a professional, then machine will take it. AI will take it. Now, if you can't, and which means that there are other things that you're working on, and you're being more human. Uh, I think at least as of now, I don't know in the future. And I've been, in fact, pursuing a very interesting course recently on ethics and AI, and there the conversation is really mind-boggling. They're saying that how do you really, who would be responsible if the machine does something wrong, and at some point of time, how would the machine take ethical decisions? So I don't know if there would be a time when it would come, but as far as we can see for now, if you're more human, if you have compassion, empathy, humility, and humor, you are safe for now.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. And bang on, maybe, we are old school, but, Anand, I completely echo Sabih's sentiment. And I don't know if you remember, Anand, I don't know how old you are, but if you remember Virender Sehwag, when he applied for the role of a coach of the Indian team, he had given a one-line resume that Virender Sehwag, ex-player of Indian cricket team, knows the Punjab boys quite well, or something like that. So, that's what indispensable employees are like. Dispensable employees in dispensable organizations, they are beautiful resume writers. They can articulate every single thing that they do in their day job, and they can write it in a beautiful resume. But those are the people who will lose their jobs to AI. Because if you can articulate it and capture it on a CV, that means somebody else can replace you. Indispensable people do so many things, it cannot be captured in a CV, like what Sabhi just said. So you have to have an edge. Your humanness is your edge over machines, I think. Fantastic, Sabhi. Thank you. So Alicia Patel is asking you, if you had to redesign corporate learning from scratch, where would you begin? Wow, I love this question.
Oh, wow, that's a difficult one for me. I don't know from the beginning where would it be, but what I know is that what the future of learning would be. It would, the learning as a function would disappear. As a function would disappear, but learning will become part of your life, your ways of. That's my mission. That's what my vision is. That's what I want to happen in the organization. There's so much to learn now. And it is so much democratized. Everyone has access to everything. It is very easy to learn. I think what is important is the individual's ability to learn. So the only thing that we would help individuals in times to come is that how do you learn and how do you keep your learnability alive, particularly when you are towards that plateau or mastery in some ways.
Very true. And I think, Alicia, I'll just add, Aisha, sorry, Aisha, I'm sorry, I misspelled your name. So the thing that Sabi mentioned is very important in these days, because till a generation back, each generation would be just a small upgrade on the previous generation, right? So like my generation was probably a 20% upgrade on my parents' generation. And then as you go, yeah. But now in the digital supernova that's hit the world in the last, since 2007, probably, we are accelerating at a pace where, the pace of technology is outpacing the human potential to cope with it. So unless you are a lifelong learner and you constantly unlearn and relearn, you will probably get left behind. And it could be because earlier there used to be like company people who would work in one organization all their lives. Then there were the companies people who worked for 4 to 5 companies in their career. But as Yuval Noah Harari says, that as we get into the future, these all things are going to disappear. So if you are a marketing person, tomorrow your marketing job can be outsourced to an AI, and you might need to become a yoga instructor, and then a yoga instructor's job could be go over to a robot, and you might need to become a Zumba teacher or something like that. So in a lifetime, people are going to change professions 5 to 7 times as it goes in the future. So I think lifelong learning, like Sabih said, and people like Sabih are there for us to refer to and go to for advice, I think. So Siddhi is asking, the next question is from Siddhi Dubey. Why is employee well-being now a business priority and not just HR's priority?
Again, some of these things just get limelight and gets talked about. I think the organizations and the society in general is waking up to the importance of humans and employees or individuals being central uh, to the business. So we the time that we are living in, it is no longer about machines, it's no longer about computers, it's no longer about coding. It's about the individual, because everything else machine will help you do. So that's where it is very important that we realize and appreciate and actively work in that direction. I think that's the point. That's the point, that individuals as well as organizations will have to work towards that. That's the only thing, and that realization is coming in, and I'm glad that it is coming in.
Great. I think Siddhi, just like I said in the beginning, that was the whole purpose of getting someone like Savi on this show, was because to show that this is probably the missing link today in today's workforce. Because today, till about 2 decades back, we would go and join a company. There will be a kindly looking 50-year-old HR manager who would take us to an orientation, and then we'll be put through different departments and get to know the people, soak the organization, and etc., and vice versa. But today you go and a youngster joins a company, he or she introduces himself or herself to a machine, and then they half-heartedly do some orientation, online orientation, and then they don't even probably see their own boss for several months. And then we expect people to have engagement at work. I think this is a very tall ask, because it doesn't happen like that. Engagement at work happens when, like Sabi said, it's human beings connecting with human beings, because no matter how much machines uh, progress, they cannot have the human element in them, at least so far. I think they don't have consciousness, they don't have the humanness. And I think people like Savi are still keeping that humanness alive at workplaces, Savi. And I think I loved today's episode, and so many things that you spoke about, and I think probably I also spoke too much today, because as a host I should not be speaking so much, but you got me so much triggered with all your answers, emotionally triggered, that I couldn't stop myself. And that's what people like you do, right? You bring out people's inherent kind of passion out. So thank you so much, Savi. It was wonderful speaking to you, and we will have a YouTube version of this video soon, of this episode soon. And I hope that the leaders who have joined in and others would gain a lot from this. Thank you again. Any final thoughts before we just sign off?
No, thank you, and I enjoyed the conversation as always. I mean, I love talking to you. I love reading what you've been writing. So it's always wonderful to have a conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed my time together. So wonderful. Appreciate you inviting me, and maybe we'll continue the conversation. This episode may end, but the conversation continues.
It needs to. It has to continue. Thank you, Sabu. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you, audience. Thank you, the thinking team, Ashwarya, Shruti, Karishma, Ria, everybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.